be wrong.
Oh, I just realized I forgot to put together those resources for people to, if they are experiencing any issues.
Oh, I could send you for the Colorado Crisis Center.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Transgender Day of Remembrance. We really appreciate you coming here today to celebrate the lives of many people who were lost, wonderful people. My name is Grant, they, them pronouns, and Rory.
Yeah, and my name is Rory Moore, pronouns they, them, theirs. And I'm excited to be here too with all of you. I think this is a great moment for us to remember those that we have lost this year, but also, work towards a call of action. And I'm excited to be here. So I hope you all are too.
Yeah, so we're just waiting a little bit longer before we start everything. Please enjoy a little bit of music, and we'll be back to do a full introduction of everything. So hang tight, and we'll see you more soon. pronouns. And I want to speak a little bit about what it means to me to be non-binary. And then I'm going to pass it off to Rory. So being non-binary to me is I think it's different for everyone. For me, it's a stepping back from a lot of the gender norms and just being able to be myself in a lot of ways. And I was reminded of a story earlier today about some of my friends when I was growing up. So I was always very unique. And some of my friends growing up were saying, well, there's the group of boys, and then there's the group of girls, and then there's Grant. And so I've always been, and I want to make sure that it's clear that's not a story of feeling like I was othered. It was very much a story of feeling seen. And I think that's a really important thing to mention with a story like that, because there are a lot of feelings of being othered in a lot of the communities that we're in. So that's, I think, just a little tidbit I wanted to say before passing it off to Rory.
Yeah, thank you, Grant, so much. And everyone, as I mentioned before, my name is Rory Moore. My pronouns are they, them. And for me, what it means to be non-binary is this opportunity to be androgynous, right? It's this opportunity to explore my masculinity, but also my femininity, because oftentimes, I've struggled with just having to be masculine and presenting that. And now I have the opportunity to really, show myself to everyone and really express that femininity. And that's why I love being non-binary, because it's this fluid sense of exploring both identities and really understanding that and expressing that to people, so that way they can see it's not just this binary system of just male and female, but there are folks that are on the spectrum, and they are here living, and that's what matters. And with that too, I just wanted to provide a background about TDOR. So about TDOR, Transgender Day of Remembrance, it began in 1999 as a San Francisco candlelight vigil in response to the 1998 murder of Rita Hester. And it really memorialized those who were killed due to transphobia, anti-transgender hatred, and even prejudice. And it's now honored every year on November 20th throughout the world. And tonight we're going to continue the tradition of observing TDOR, which was started by the Gender Identity Center in the early 2000s here. And so now I'm going to pass it off to Grant, so that way they can provide a great schedule of the events today.
Yeah. So we're going to open with a few messages from our sponsor organizations, including one organization that we're a part of, and we'll get into that a little more later. We're going to have messages from our community, a 10-minute break around 7 p.m. So we'll have a little light music going on. We will have more community videos, including reading of the names. And we'll conclude with some messages from organizations working to support the transgender and gender diverse community, as well as talk about some of the available mental health supports that there are, including one this evening that we actually have going on in the chat. One of the counselors at Transgender Center of the Rockies is going to be in the chat, and her name is Erin. She's wonderful. So she'll be there to talk to you if you have anything that you want to talk about while we are talking about all of the things this evening. So just to get everything kicked off, I wanted to encourage everybody to check in with yourself and how you're feeling while we are going through some of the heavier things tonight. And I'll pose a question to you to talk to others in the chat with here occasionally. And to start things off, in what ways does an emotional event like Transgender Day of Remembrance help you to celebrate, whether that's the life of a friend, your own life, your community, etc.? So if you want to have that conversation in the comments, and we will pass it off to Sable with the center, who's been an instrumental part in making Transgender Day of Remembrance here a possibility.
Hello, I'm Sable Schultz. She, her pronouns. I'm the manager of transgender services at the Center on Colfax in Denver, Colorado. Thank you for being with us today for this Transgender Day of Remembrance. Transgender Day of Remembrance is an important day for our community. It is a time for us to gather and mourn the passing of those whose lives were lost due to violence. Violence which most heavily impacts the lives of black and brown trans women and highlights the intersections of transphobia, sexism, racism, and classism at play in our society. But it is more than a day about loss. It is also a time for us to come together as a community, to reaffirm our commitments to standing proud, being true to who we are, and living our authentic lives. It is a day to connect with our allies and for our friends, family, significant others, and allies to reaffirm their support. This year has been particularly challenging for our community. Not only have we seen another upswing in violence targeting transgender and gender diverse people, we are experiencing the impact of a pandemic and added levels of isolation as many of our community spaces have had to limit gathering sizes or stop gatherings altogether. This is why the Denver Transgender Day of Remembrance Planning Committee knew it was important to find a way to recognize and honor this day. We hope this event respects and honors all those impacted by anti-trans violence, individuals and communities. Remember, you are not alone, even in the middle of a pandemic. Organizations such as the Transgender Center of the Rockies and the Center on Colfax have online support groups and resources. Plume, one of our event's sponsors, provides online healthcare services specifically catering to the needs of transgender and gender diverse community members. And telehealth is becoming far more common with behavioral and physical health care providers. You are not alone, and you are strong and resilient, and you are appreciated and cherished. Now I want each of you to take a moment to respond and chat. From our trans people and gender diverse people, what are the things which help you feel empowered and strong in this struggle? And what do you need from our allies? And from our significant others, friends, families, and allies, what are you going to do in the year to address transphobia and empower our transgender and gender diverse community members, especially our black and brown community members, to be their authentic selves? Thank you all for being here, and thank you to all of the planning committee members who made this possible, with a special thanks to Andrew Miller, Kashmir Jumper, Julia Condolora, Lars Hagen, and Maya Rothland. If you are interested in being part of next year's planning committee, please reach out to any of us. And remember, you are not alone.
Yeah, I really resonated too with what Sable was mentioning, just about our Black and Brown trans women of color, specifically too, and just the rate of violence that they have, that they've endured. And that's why when you were setting the tone, right, it's like this is a celebratory event, but also I want it to be a call of action, right? Is what are we doing to help our Black and Brown trans women of color? How do we stop the violence that they're enduring on a year-to-year basis? And with the bias that many of us may have, in the jobs that we live and breathe in our homes, what are we doing within our communities? What are we doing to uplift our Black and Brown communities? That's what I want us to walk away with today from TDOR is let's stop the violence. Let's focus on our communities of color and then let's help uplift each other.
Yeah, thank you for setting that intention as well. I think it's really important to have a big intention come from a somewhat somber occasion like this, but also a celebratory. event. I also want to pop into some of the comments here on Twitch. HG Dellinger, I love what you said about you feel strong when others validate me, my identity, and my pronouns. Effort without excuse from allies is what I ask. And I think that is beautiful. So thank you for talking about that. Throughout the evening, we will be mentioning some of the comments. And if you don't want us to say your name in it, just put 3 stars in front of, at the base of your comment. And then we will make sure that we don't mention your name in that particular comment. So thank you so much. So next we are going to hear from Plume, Dr. Jerica Kirkley with Plume. And Plume, I just actually learned about it this evening. It is a really awesome program by trans people for trans people about getting the medications that you need. So without further ado, Plume.
I'm Dr. Jerica Kirkley. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm a physician, the chief medical officer, and co-founder of Plume. Plume provides gender-affirming hormone therapy for trans people by trans people, all from the convenience of your phone.
Plume is convenient, confidential, and committed to providing the most inclusive gender-affirming care, and it's so much easier to hold to that commitment when many of the doctors and team members are trans and queer identified themselves.
Not only that, but they offer convenient virtual care right through your smartphone, so you can get gender-affirming hormone therapy from anywhere.
These 2 items here are my HRT prescriptions, and these are literally life-saving for me and so many other trans people. I am so thankful that this exists.
I wish you all the best in your transition. Mwah.
Resource, right? You know, we need it for the community, and when folks need hormones, we want to be able to provide them the opportunity to be able to access that. And oftentimes, you know, hormone therapy has been not accessible, and that's problematic within our community. We want to make sure that it's readily available for anyone who needs it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we also want to mention this evening, another one of the sponsors is Transgender Center of the Rockies. So Rory and myself both work at Mile High Behavioral Healthcare, where we do a lot of prevention services for STDs, and we do that specifically for LGBTQ plus communities. And so we work with the Transgender Center of the Rockies, which is another department of our organization, and they provide mental health services as well as letters and a variety of other things. So Rory, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, what's so nice about the TCR is they have support groups, right? Support groups are so needed for our trans and gender diverse folks. They have a non-binary group that starts on Mondays. They have a transition group and a trans sister circle that's on Tuesdays. They even have a young adults group and a trans masculine group, I believe, on Thursdays. And then they have SOFA, which is significant others, family, friends, and allies, which is another opportunity for folks that aren't in the community to be able to come and, you know, listen and provide feedback on the needs that they have of maybe their children or those that they know. And what's really nice too is other groups that they have is they have therapy groups which are often missed. You know, they have a trans mindful group on Mondays and a gender euphoria group on Wednesdays, and both of them are 5 to 6. So, you know, if you're interested in those groups, please, you know, reach out to the TCR. You can go to transgendercentertherockies.com and get that. And then 2, if you're interested in PrEP, right? PrEP is a once-a-day pill to prevent HIV, and it's a great opportunity that you can get through Denver Element. If you want HIV testing or even hepatitis C testing too, you can get it through Element as well. And so that's a great opportunity. And if folks are looking for hormone therapy, you know, outside of Plume too, you can also look at Planned Parenthood downtown, which is another great resource that the TCR refers folks to. So yeah, this is, you know, it's a great opportunity, a lot of services through the TCR, and, you know, a great resource for our community. It's, you know, one of the only transgender centers, you know, in Denver. And we, you know, I'm happy to work with them and be a part of Denver Element and Mile High Behavioral Health Care.
Yes, and we have a few things in the chat. Is there a group specific to BIPOC trans people?
Oh,
so yeah. Do you want to speak on this, Rory?
Yeah, so Kashmir is also doing, and she's one of the main leads at the TCR, but she is running a trans woman of color group. So if that's of interest to you, you can join that. But then also at Denver Element, I run a queer BIPOC group. So I do this every Thursday, 6 to 7. It's on Zoom right now. And, you know, it's a great opportunity for folks just to talk about racism, oppression, you know, the challenges that they face as a person of color, you know, in the workforce and just everyday life, really. It's a great opportunity for you to come and join me and just talk about those adversities, but also listen if you want, you know, and just hear from other people and come in and join a community where you're accepted and you're loved and you're validated for everything that you face on a daily basis. So please join us, follow, you know, Denver Element, and you can learn more about our queer BIPOC group.
Yes, and there was a question about what is BIPOC, and it's been answered a few times in the chat, but I'll just reiterate that it is Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So whenever we talk about BIPOC, that is what we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's so important too that we have these spaces, right? Because oftentimes we're excluded as, you know, people of color from the table and from spaces. And so this is an opportunity for us to have that safe space and also heal. Because, you know, oftentimes with our white, you know, counterparts, they're there and they're able to listen, but that fragility sometimes comes through and, you know, it doesn't allow us to be authentic in our struggles and what we face. So I'm happy to provide this space, you know, through Denver Element.
Fabulous. Excellent. The T-Sister Circle group is the one Rory mentioned in the TCR, or that the TCR does. So Erin Lowry is on our chat right now. She is a representative from Transgender Center of the Rockies, one of the therapists there, and she is wonderful. So she'll be in the chat if you have any additional questions about things, and as a person to support you if you need anything. So all of that being said, I think we can move into our next segment. We have a video from Maya Rothlein. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. Without further ado, part of our community.
Hi everyone, my name is Maya and I'm transgender. I am so fortunate and proud to be able to share my voice in this year's Transgender Day of Remembrance. Transgender Day of Remembrance is so important to myself and my community. We need to remember those who we have lost, those who are not going to be here tomorrow, and those who have fallen victim to violence. We need to remember their names, and we need their voices and their stories to be heard. 2020 has brought more violence to my community, more deaths in recorded history. Let that sink in for a second. Myself and the group that I'm working with have been working so hard to try to promote change within the Denver area. see change. We need to hold our elected officials accountable. We deserve the same rights and protections as anybody else. And that's because we are human and we matter. We need to be able to walk out the door and not fear violence. But if there is that fear of violence, we will thrive. Because the second that we are visible, the second that we show a little boy or a girl on the street that they can be who they want to be, is magical. I wish I had that as a child. But you know what? I'm going to be that for somebody else. I'm not going to let the threat of violence, the threat of losing my rights, or any threat in that matter stop me from making a change, which is what we're doing. COVID has taken so much from us this year. We had an amazing event planned called A Night of Visibility to celebrate coming out, because coming out needs to be celebrated. Our lives deserve to be celebrated. And you know what? When we need to cry is also a day that we need to remember how strong we are. Because I will not succumb to negativity from others. And I will work twice as hard for those that I love and care about. And you all, my community, are who I love and care about. So 2021, look for some amazing events if COVID allows, of course, because we need to be healthy and strong. But most importantly, we need to stay together and unite as a community.
Maya's voice was still articulated throughout the video.
And here we start with our next program.
So you think you can tell? Having from past pain. Can we tell a green tea from a cold cigarette? Smile from a veil. Do you think you can tell? Did they get you to trade your heroes to ghosts? Hot ashes to trees, hot air for a cool breeze. Change. Did you exchange? Walk on part in war for the Negro in a cage. How I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. But have we found the same old fears? I wish you were here.
Excellent. A big thank you to Maya Rothlian. Apologies about the video quality was not its best, and I still got a lot of meaning out of that, and there's still a lot of feeling in it. So thank you so much for that, and I apologize for not calling out Michelle Plampin, Wish You Were Here. That is the song that we just heard as well. So thank you for both of those submissions. They were beautiful, and I really appreciate being able to experience both of those.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you, Maya, and then also Michelle. It's just lovely to hear from both of you, musically, but also just verbally, and express, the importance of providing, trans inclusive care, but then also just like caring about our trans and gender diverse folks, right? I think it's so important that we have administration that passes the Equality Act because it needs to protect everyone, regardless of their sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression. And that's something that, we're hoping 2021 comes. But now I do want to talk about some of the incidents of violence that we've seen here in Colorado. Jane Thompson, a 33-year-old trans woman, was shot and killed by a police officer on May 9th. And after she was discovered unresponsive outside a marketplace in Orchard Mesa, Colorado, she was initially misgendered and dead named in a police account of the incident, which claimed that Thompson pulled out a knife after Colorado State Trooper Jason Wade attempted to offer assistance. It is unclear why Jane was in Colorado. It took weeks for Thompson's gender identity to be correctly identified by either law enforcement or local news outlets. This is just another illustration of why so many murders of trans and gender diverse people go underreported. Jane's death also highlights the online issues that we have with policing and police violence in the United States. And so now I want us to do a call of action for cultural competency and responsiveness from our police officers. And we need to do an emphasis, right, on funding for mental health services because it's so crucial. Mental health services are so much more effective for helping people that are often tear gas, that suffer rubber bullets, when with altercations from police officers when they're rioting, when they're, when you're seeking, you want to be heard, right? When you're in an altercation with a police officer, you don't want to be treated with violence. You want to be respected. And that's all we want. We need to have more conversations with our police officers to understand, like, you can't be biased. You can't just look at my color of my skin and assume I'm a criminal. You need to properly address me, tell me what I did wrong and lead me in the right path. Don't kill me because of, you just stopped me and you think I'm gonna kill you. Have patience, and guidance. And that's what this conversation is about, is we need to have more conversations with police officers. We need to fund, mental health services, and we need to ensure that our police officers have the right training available and don't just be put out on the streets, and act, based off of their emotions, oftentimes with rage. We need them to understand who we are as people and stop killing us.
Yeah, and I think that there's an important emphasis there on don't act out of anger. Also, don't act out of fear. If some people are in charge of other people's well-being and lives, there's no reason they should not be trained to be able to handle their own fear and their own anger. And that's why I think, like you said, it's very important that we look at mental health services and look at combining police with mental health services, not only for themselves, also because then our community will be better off for it. Also, my cat just jumped up here, so say hello to Muffin, everyone.
Yeah, and as a person of color, like, I have a lot of distrust with police officers, just because I know I just know the bias that I've seen throughout history and just throughout my family, and my own altercations with police officers and just the way I've been treated, and it's not right. You want to be treated fairly, and I think that's all our people of color are asking for, is we don't no longer want to be a statistic of death. We want to be a statistic of advancement, having the opportunity to succeed and grow and be a leader in the community. But we can't do that if we're at risk and we're scared of our our own police, and that's not how it should be. It should be a dynamic between police officers where we have respect for each other, and we acknowledge they're here to protect our communities, but they're also here to protect us, and that's what's so important.
Yeah, and it's an important reminder to those people that they are here to protect us, not to hurt us. So with that sort of idea, I think that's how we are seeing the entire movement and concept behind defund the police. A lot of people have very intense emotions about this concept, and this is one of the ways that we as individuals and behind our organization know that it will work better if we introduce a lot more mental health pieces into it. There's a ride-along program in some of the counties around Denver for a mental health professional to be there with police officers. And I think that that's a great way to start things in a better direction. And I see that there's some comments going crazy here. I haven't read them. So yes, we just wanted to start that conversation a little bit. And I think that we're going to also introduce our next video or two. Coming up, we have Nishant, oh, I'm so sorry about the names. Nishant Upadhyay with a Trans Day of Remembrance message. And we also have Stony Burt's. So without further ado.
Hi, my name is Paula Stone Williams, and I'm one of the co-pastors at Left Hand Church in Longmont, Colorado. This is a day I wish we did not have to commemorate in the United States.
Hi, I'm Nishant. I'm a non-binary queer immigrant of Indian origin. As an uninvited guest at the territories of Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute peoples, I owe rights in this country, this colonial country, because of the unasked generosity of indigenous peoples. My right as a non-binary person of color also come from the unapologetic resistance and resilience of Black visionaries who continue to fight for their communities and all other oppressed communities. We gather today to remember all our trans and gender non-conforming siblings, especially Black and brown trans women siblings, lost to violence and hate in this country and across the world this year. In order to honor their lives, we have to continue to fight all violence that hurt, harm, and often kill our trans and gender non-conforming siblings. Colonialism, anti-Blackness, white supremacy, capitalism, and ableism continue to hurt our communities. To remember those who are lost, those who are still alive, and those who are yet to come, we have to fight all these violences. Many of us have been happy that we defeated Trump, but let me remind you, Biden is not our answer or savior. Even though he may be the first president-elect to express solidarity towards our communities, we don't need his racist, neoliberal, and imperial gestures. Often anti-discrimination laws and more policing hurts us and incarcerates many of our trans and gender non-conforming siblings, and detains and deports many others. More wars abroad hurt our trans and gender non-conforming siblings in the Middle East and other parts of the world. We need access to health, food, housing, education, and work for all. We definitely don't need trans people in the military. I support the trans ban and in favor of banning all oppressed people from joining the military. We need the military to end, along with police and presence. We also need ongoing colonization of indigenous lands to end, from continental US to Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Guam, and all other places US continues to occupy or supports occupation of our siblings in Palestine, Kashmir, and other places. We have to continue to remember those lost and still celebrate all of us who are here. We continue to show the cis world how we can make our communities safe and caring for all. Trans liberation gives us the tool to imagine liberation for everyone. It not only allows to envision a world without gender binaries, but also a world where everyone can be who they want to be. To all our collective liberation, Black trans lives matter. Thanks.
Make sure that we have access to resources and opportunities to succeed and get these positions of power, because we often don't have the opportunity because we don't have the education, we don't have the credentials. But if you allow us to provide our experience and our values that we bring, we will bring that to the table and we will make it a more diverse and equitable world for everybody. So we need you. That's our call to action. That's our I'm stunted for words just because we need everyone at the table to fight for everybody.
You said that you're stunted for words, but I think that was very well spoken. Everybody is involved with this. Social justice starts with a group and ends with everybody. Everybody has to be involved for anything to really happen that benefits the entire world.
Yeah, thank you, Grant.
Let's see, I wanted to look into a few of the comments. I like some of the affirmations happening in the comments from the video. Please don't beat yourself up about the event. A lot of people are just now learning how to do internet broadcasting. Thank you, appreciate that. And some of the things that we've had to do for all of this, we really appreciate your patience with us, especially because, for example, Rory and myself were not expecting to be doing this as of yesterday. So we really appreciate it. We've had a few hiccups along the way throughout the entire process of making this all a reality. And I really want to celebrate Sable from the center again for conducting so much of it and making it happen. And I don't know who all I should thank right now, but Skye for also being our tech person and making all of this possible, because it's stuff that I do not know how to do, especially to this degree. I think it's wonderful. And of course, Topher. I appreciate Topher being here with us too. So let's introduce our next video. We actually have two more videos coming up. One for Reverend Paula Stone Williams, and another one for Silent Wellington, If the Future is Trans. And I believe that that is a talk and a musical number, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably mistaken though. So without further ado, Reverend Paula Stone Williams and Silent Wellington.
Williams, and I'm one of the co-pastors at Left Hand Church in Longmont, Colorado. This is a day I wish we did not have to commemorate in the United States. Transgender Day of Remembrance. We know at least 32 people have been murdered this past year just because they were being themselves, just because they were transgender. Did you know that there's no more at-risk group in the United States for suicide than young people whose parents are not supportive of their desire to transition genders? We've struggled over the last 4 years, recognizing that so many in our nation just don't care. They don't want us to have our basic civil rights. But there is hope. There is hope that life will get better. There is hope that we will become stronger. There is hope that love wins. For all of those who lost their lives this year, we pray for their families. We pray for their friends. We pray for their communities. We pray that they will not be forgotten, that they will be remembered for being authentic, loving humans with the courage to be true to who they were, that they will be remembered as people who understood that living authentically is sacred and holy and for the greater good. And may we all work harder each and every day to make sure that that number is 0, that the world treats transgender people and gender non-binary people with love, with acceptance, with respect. There is hope, and I do believe love wins.
Hello, my name is Silent Charlie Wellington, and my pronouns are they, them, theirs. And I'm going to read you a poem titled If the Future is Trans. And this is my love letter to all the queer and trans youth, younger than me, up and coming, still figuring out who they are. I want you to know the best things haven't happened yet. There are gender creative creatures out there that are just sparks of imagination in our eyes. There's some kid dancing in a field of dandelions with breasts flying over his belly. There's some kid wearing a sparkly superhero cape, a smirk, no tremor of fear, and walking all confidence into whatever bathroom they please. There's a kid out there inventing pronouns that are going to leave us tongue-tied. There are kids out there finding language for who they are, language that reads like myth and coats the earth in some kaleidoscope poetry, whose heart songs will rival scripture. All we have to do is blink, and we'll open our eyes to some new tomorrow where those trans kids will be schooling us, correcting our grammar and rolling their eyes, saying something like, "Trans is so old school. Whoever decided that was the word." They're going to give us a new queer dictionary. They're going to fill our shelves with biodegradable glitter. They're going to humble us. They're going to make us think, oh my gods, how did I think the world was so small? They're going to show us some map that leaves us cross-eyed, feed us some new queer magic that steadies our trans into an ecology of all things. Look at them now, those future queerlings, those cloaks of concealed genders, starting off boyish, girlish boy-girls, throwing off their closets and growing into holy, something we've never seen. What artists, what sculptors, to shape their lives like that, to listen so deeply they find a truth that's never been spoken before. To feel in them a truth that runs so strong, its currents pulsate from their hearts and their fingertips and crowns and cheeks, leaving rivers of possibility with every step they take. That's devotion. That's creation. That's artistry at work. My gods, these kids are building entire worlds. I can't wait. I can see them now dancing some jig that makes my knees ache. How do they move like that? They're going to make my bones prematurely creak. They're going to make my hair turn starlight. They're going to make my voice all gravelly just trying to match their song. And holy hell, they're going to scare the shit out of us. We're going to look at them in tantrums and first puberty and second and third and fourth puberties, perpetual adolescents who take after us, by the way, with the added worry of global climate crisis, super drugs, and the permanence of social media to boot. We'll be saying, read that again before you press that button. Who did he say you were sending that photo to? Careful where you leave your Bluetooth vibrator. Kids these days, they're going to blow us away. I'm already excited for impossible futures, horizons I can't quite taste. And they're going to run up to me and show me that it's all right here. They're going to show me if I only listen, shrug this chip off my shoulder, let them bust open these seams, widen the curtain enough for them to beam. It's all possible with these seedlings of dandelion resistance. My, if the future is trans, it looks awfully grand.
Love that.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like just even Reverend Paula, right? Like she talks so much about love winning. Like love wins, right? When we fight and we advocate for what we want. And then Silent too, just saying that we're gender creatures. We are. We're amazing human beings and we deserve to be treated with respect and we deserve a seat at the table. So advocate, fight for your right and fight to be everywhere present because we are there and we're here and no one's going to stop that.
Yeah, I'm thrilled at the prospect of things not being a binary anymore, so that there's more that society will accept at large about trans, non-binary, gender expansive folks, because that, I think, really is the future in a lot of ways. the ability to see past what you were taught and to see all the possibilities ahead of you.
Yeah, and I was once told, right, if life is comfortable, you're doing something wrong. Life should be uncomfortable. And it's time for us to make people uncomfortable because you know what? We matter and we deserve to be everywhere.
Absolutely. So I do want to apologize. We missed Stony in our videos so far. So we are going to now show Stony Bert's video. And we are thrilled to be able to show this. So here's Stony. Here's Stony.
See, I don't mean to kill the vibe and all. So hope for change, chasing a dream like a waterfall. I felt the lean, yeah, we seen how the tower falls. Hopes a chest, what I mean when the darkness falls. Look, I think I had a premonition, chilling, dragging on the ladies' cushy. I pretended I was a killer, pray somebody push me. I'm just trying to be sincere without being so pushy. Look. That's just my hang up with us. You don't rap about what I rap, it's just a difference in us. Don't show up how you show up, and your perspective is rough. Yo, sometimes what's inside, that's the scariest stuff. Hey, look, I'm screaming life is what you make it. Me and four walls, while I'm trying to create it, and I've been inside. While I'm holding on to loved ones, trying to show them the inside until the love done. Look, I'm screaming life is what you make it. Me and four walls while I'm trying to create it, and I've been inside. Yeah. Look, hey, what a callous calculation. Spend a day in my mind, can't imagine what I'm facing. Not as simple as that. Some days you lose the faith, fast as you get it back. Trying to keep it on track. My girl love me, so she say the truth. I gotta get on that level so I can't have the same excuse. Guess I'm growing now. Take a look at what I'm holding now. Gotta do a shirt, there ain't no folding now. I had time to sit inside and think about it, and took a second and figured out it couldn't matter if I was giving it everything that I had. The time that it took, it would make me laugh. Like, look, I'm screaming life is what you make it. Me and four walls while I'm trying to create, and I've been inside while I'm holding on the loved one, trying to show them the inside until the love done. Look, I'm screaming life is what you make it. Me and four walls while I'm trying to create, and I've been inside while I'm holding on the loved one, trying to show them the inside until the love done. Yo, so I'm Stony Berts. I'm an artist, hip hop artist. I live and work in Denver. Moved here from Colorado Springs a couple of years ago. Yeah, I've kind of been enjoying it ever since. I do identify as non-binary, transmasculine. I use they, them, he, him pronouns. Those are my pronouns. Yeah, I just want to say, hello to everybody from virtual, COVID world. I hope everybody's staying safe, and attempting to be as healthy and as happy happy as possible. You know, much love to everybody for reaching out and putting this together. You know, whoever's responsible for the editing and all that stuff. Shout out to you for doing what you do. Yeah, I mean, that's mainly it about myself. I mean, I think this day is always, you know, a mixture. It's somber because we reflect and look back on those folks who are no longer with us, who were taken from us in a lot of ways maliciously, hatefully, torn away from us and prematurely, gone. So we can't enjoy their presence. They can't enjoy our presence. But yet and still every year we remember. In addition to what has been going on, if you look outside your door in a lot of places, and the need for that, and kind of just how that intertwines with the need for us in the trans community, the queer community, non-binary community, to be safe as well. So it's, I guess, I could have more and say all the things that I'm sure everybody's saying, and I know we're gonna read the too long list of names of folks that we've lost, but I urge everybody to look inward, and if you're still with us, by choice, and you're getting to see everyone that you love, at least on a regular basis, or someone that you love, or you've found someone to love, or whatever the case might be, just try to enjoy that. I know a lot of times as I guess anybody who falls into any type of marginalized community, you struggle sometimes to find joy the way that other people may have seemingly better access to it. And I think if this new time or new view of what our everyday looks like is shown me anything, at least personally, it's been that, just to take in those moments and try to cherish those moments as much as you can, because there really is like the need and the hope for control in that situation. It's just, it's fleeting, right? It's not going to happen. So I just want to let everybody know, keep being here, keep living, and your existence is radical, and thank you so much for being you and being here, and for remembering and for carrying on the memories of those who unfortunately can't be here. And let's continue to do the work to make sure that we are highlighting those voices in our communities, those Black trans women in our communities that are considered the least of us in a lot of ways, and we're uplifting them and giving them the space and the opportunity, and passing the mic, giving up the mic to let them be that. I think in a lot of ways, obviously, as being a Black queer person, I still, there aren't a lot of privileges that I have, but one of them is that I do, even though I was assigned female at birth, I do, obviously present in a very masculine way, and there is a lot of privilege that is associated with that. So I think making sure that we highlight those things on a regular basis, and call ourselves in, not necessarily call ourselves out, and call each other in, and not necessarily out to problem solve and do what we can for our communities to thrive, because I think it's been empirically proven that we're the only ones that are going to do that. So once again, I'm Stony Burtz. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. You can find my music everywhere. You can find music, Stony Burts with a Z. And yeah, much love.
Stony Burts. Thank you so much, Stony Burts, for that. That was wonderful. Also, great news. I think I figured out some of the issues technically from my side of things. So hopefully things will go a little bit smoother from here. In the meantime, we're going to be taking a short break. We'll be back in roughly 10 minutes. We're going to take about a 10-minute break so that we can give our wonderful interpreter a chance to rest, give everybody a chance to use the restroom, get a little snack, whatever you need to do a little bit of self-care right now.
Yeah, and thanks, Stony, so much for your kind words. Just, the fact that you said our existence is radical, that stuck with me so hard. So yeah, I hope it sticks with all of you too, because it's the truth.
I missed that last bit, I apologize. Yeah, so we're going to take that short break. We're going to read up on some of the comments and probably start up with some of those before we introduce our next person. So we'll see you again in about 10 minutes. back, everybody. I hope that you had a very relaxing, rejuvenating break. So I admittedly forgot to look at some of the comments while we were on the break, but I did have a delicious Reese's peanut butter cup. So, and I hope that you did as well. Let's see, let's take a peek at some of those comments. It sounds like we had a lot of really positive comments about Stony Burt's, and that was a great performance. We also figured out all of our issues, so we should be all set now to give you a nice, smooth remainder of our event. Yeah, lots of thank yous and a mention of In-N-Out Burger coming to Colorado. It's the first one in Colorado, and I believe it's out in Aurora.
Yes, it is.
2 of them?
Yeah, I think Aurora and Colorado Springs.
Okay. Yeah, it's a daunting thing. I heard that there were 500 cars in line for it, and I don't even know what to think of that, because I know that I can't imagine doing that myself. So, but different strokes, different folks. Sounds like it's their thing. So great, fabulous. So I think now we can introduce our next speaker here. So also I wanted to invite people to reach out to us to be a part of next year's planning for Trans Day of Remembrance. So if you're at all interested in that, we will have little links in the Twitch chat that you can find us there. You can also look up the center and find Sable to learn more about what that looks like. So our next speaker is Josie Nixon. So let's see what we have in store.
Hello, this is my 2020 TDOR submission video. My name is Josie Nixon, and I use all pronouns. Josie Nixon. I am remembering those who came before us, remembering those whose lives were taken, remembering those whose fight was too great. Today, I am remembering what it means to be me and the perils that stand before me. I arose slowly this morning, cherishing each moment as a little victory I've overcome. I wake today thinking of those who made my life possible, thinking of those who pushed the boundaries of what we're told is acceptable. Today, I will be easy. I will bow my head and thank the ones who've helped me to get here. I will pause today to cherish the moments in my life that they had stolen from them. I will reflect on the battles that I've won because they were standing at my side. Their strength is unmatched by those who choose to look the other way. Each day they rose and stepped into a world that was not ready for their brand of self. It is within their identity that I find hope today. It is within their movement that I find resilience. It is within their power to step outside and face those who deem us less that I can bear this weight. I know that with the fallen beside me, I have no opposition that I cannot face proudly about how much it means to be authentic. In spite of the odds stacked up against my community, we have stood tall for all of human existence. Our insurgence of numbers now only speaks to the power that each of us hold within. When we don't hide, we show the world that it is not only okay to be you, but that there is royalty in the way that we stride, that there is celestial lineage in our nature, and that to be trans means to be part of a community with vitality. We are not defined by the struggle of our daily lives. We cannot be tethered to the loss of our siblings, for we are tenacious and relentless. The battle for our existence has made us rugged and unyielding. Today, we rest. We mourn those stolen, those lost, and those who are forced into hiding. We keep them in our hearts as we practice patience. Tomorrow, we reach our arms back and we pull those around us forward, no matter how deep their heels are dug in. We are limitless. We are permanent. We are unbounded. We will not stop this movement until all of our community is thriving. This movement, started in the beginning of history, is timeless and uncontainable. We are permanent. We are facing insurmountable odds with victory already in our hearts because we have the fallen by our side. Today, I remember. Tomorrow, I fight. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I loved it. I think it speaks to the nature of this event, right? You know, it's that we have to be strong and resilient and keep going. And even with Josie's words, you know, we just have to keep on standing tall and be tenacious individuals.
Yeah, indeed. And a lot of it really struck me. Like it hit me in the heart space. And it resonated. And I think that's one of the most important pieces about having a day like Transgender Day of Remembrance, because it's a way that we can communicate with each other a lot of the feelings that we might not have the opportunity otherwise to express. So I think it's time we start our next video. This will be with Christine Renee Monks. And then we are going to have another video after that with Silen Wellington, When I Look at My Family Tree.
This is something I wrote as homage to all my sisters on the trans journey. It's entitled, Have You Seen Me? Have you seen me? I'm the woman in the grocery store who looks a bit overdressed and a bit uncomfortable in her skin. I'm the woman whose hands are a bit too big, the one whose features are a bit too masculine, whose voice is a bit too deep. I'm the one you stare at a bit too long or look away from a bit too quickly. I'm the one who feels you snickering at me when I pass. But I'm not a joke. I'm not a woman to be trivialized. I am a warrior. I am a woman living her truth. Yes, I was born with a penis, and that caused everyone to assume that I was a boy. But I was never a boy. I've always been a girl. And I am so tired of living a lie to make everyone feel better. From now on, I'm living my truth, not yours. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's harder than you can possibly imagine. So don't laugh at me. Honor me for the hero that I am. Hold the door for me. Treat me with respect and common decency. Treat me like a lady, for that's what I am. Because if you walked a single mile in my shoes or lived a day in my body, you would see me as the true warrior that I am, not some object of ridicule or pity. Yes, I am trans. I am transparent. I am transformative. I am transtastic.
My name is Silent Charlie Wellington. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I'm going to read a poem that I wrote titled When I Look at My Family Tree. And first, I will sing a song from the Reclaiming Witchcraft tradition. This song was written by one of our beloved dead, Lizanne. Where is the grief of our ancestors etched in the earth of our bone? Where is the strength of our ancestors etched in the earth of our bone? Where is the grief? Where is the strength etched in the earth of our bone? Where is the grief? Where is the strength etched in the earth of our bone? When I look at my family tree, I want to see drag queens. I want to see genderfuck aliens and pansy boy princes. I want to see men with crescent moon scars on their chest, beaming forth with full moon magic. I want to see girls who haven't learned how to stop their lipstick from bleeding, and who had to learn makeup hidden in closets full of stale boy clothes. I want to see that girl in the closet find just the right contour. That when she looks into the curved mirror of the star goddess universe, she falls in love with the woman she's always known herself to be. When I look at my family tree, I want to see Odin and Loki and all their transsexual glory, not cloaked in aggression, but taking the spotlight exactly when they're cross-dressing, becoming vulvas, giving birth after shape-shifting into female horses, and practicing all kinds of wily feminine magics, riding, say, their staffs into the web of all things. When I look at my family tree, I want to see knights who hide tulips in their pants, who became the only earnest Prince Charmings, whose lovers never realized they were getting fucked by flowers. When I look at my family tree, I want to see writers who bend language, who build a room of words big enough to fit the world inside, big enough for all the queer boys in my eyes to find exactly the right fragment mirror. When I look at my family tree, I want to see an instruction manual for Molotov cocktails and the blueprints for a star house. I want to see women with 5 o'clock shadows who refused to pass, who said it was always more fun being Sylvia. I want to see street kids finding the bridge from the piers into queer utopias, some bridge where officers stopping them for upper female impersonation got distracted by the glitter behind their ears, fell into a midsummer night's sleep, and all the action revolutionaries got to dance a queer city's decree. When I look at my family tree, I want to see a stone butch singing the blues. I want to see a ring of keys and dungarees. I want to see gay boys pulling giant condoms over the marquee. I want to hear a voice crack and bellows of a truth finally set free. When I look at my family tree, I want to see transcestors that broke out of the fucking matrix, that didn't even need to eat some forbidden red pill fruit, who knew all along that this world was not enough, that we could be bigger, brighter, that there was still more for the light to give. When I look at my family tree, I want to see queerness so evident it cannot be denied. I want to see it pulsing through the lifeblood of everything as surely as it already does. I want the silences to twist snakes around this legacy of erasure, twist so tightly that the closets break, jaws falling open with every last queer delight finally spoken, undeniable, taking root and taking flight.
Wow, those were incredible. Like, oh my God, just Christine, just like, oh man, her words, just about her being a trans woman and needing acceptance and wanting that and love, from the world. That's all that she wants. And, that's what she needs and that's what she deserves. And then two, just Silene, just like, I don't know, that poem was amazing. Just queerness pulsating through life and through its blood. I was like, oh, that stuck with me so hard. I was like, yes, that's what we want. That's what we need. We want to be loved and cradled, and we want passion, and we want to be here and existing. Like we don't want to be hiding, and that's what we're going to continue to strive to fight for.
Well, and just from an artistic standpoint, how beautifully done that was. I love the layering, the vocal layering. And it really sets a tone there. And I think that with a lot of what we've been talking today, it's really important to set that intention and tone for something. Sometimes that's explaining it, sometimes that's diving in, sometimes it's surprising people. So I just think that was beautiful. And like you said, the Christine telling that truth was really, really nourishing and really beautiful.
Yeah, and it's sometimes what I feel like being non-binary, right? It's like you walk into places and you're like, don't stare at me because of the way I look or the way I present myself. I'm sorry that I paint my nails. I'm sorry that I have earrings. No, I'm not sorry, actually. I want acceptance, and I want you to believe that this is who I am and this is how I'm expressing it. There's no more sorriness. I think society has made us feel sorry for who we are, and that's no longer the case. We're here and we're vibrant, and we're going to show you exactly who we are.
Absolutely. And I know that with some of my experience of being non-binary, I've had a lot of people stare before because they're like, oh, is that person a boy or a girl? Also, are they maybe an elf? Who knows? Sometimes there's a lot of confusion around something that, or someone rather, that people don't really understand. And it's also a lack of trying to understand that I think is one of the most potent things. And not being able to see past one's own perspective. So again, going back into why all this is so important, it's about perspective and finding not only your own, but also celebrating others and their perspective. So I think it's time for another video. We have Ray Manzari.
2020 has been the deadliest year on record for transgender Americans. According to the Human Rights Campaign, there have been 34 homicides with transgender victims since January. The true number of transgender homicides could exceed this, as sadly these crimes go unreported. This number was tipped over previous years with the death of Felicia Harris, a black trans woman who was fatally shot in Augusta, Georgia in October. Local media misgendered Felicia during the reporting of her death, a common occurrence according to the Trans Journalists Association. Violence against trans people disproportionately affects Black and Latinx women. Of the 34 reported deaths this year, 32 of them were women. Trans violence is a gun violence issue. Nearly 3/4 of trans deaths involve firearms. In 2019, 22 transgender and gender non-conforming people were killed, 17 of which were killed with guns. Each year we celebrate the lives of trans people who were lost during the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which falls on November 20th. The following is a list of those we lost this year. Dustin Parker, 25. Alexa Ruiz, 29. Yampi Mendez Arocho, 19. Monica Diamond, 34. Lexi, 33. Joanna Metzger, 25. Serena Angelique Valaquez Ramos, 32. Layla Pelez Sanchez, 21. Penelope Diaz Ramirez, 31. Nina Pop, 28. Tony McDade, 27. Dominique Fells, 30. Rhea Milton, 25. Jane Thompson, 33. Selena Reyes Hernandez, 37. Brian Powers, 43. Brayla Stone, 17. Mercy Mack, 22. Shaki Peters, 32. Bree Black, 27. Summer Taylor, 24. Marilyn Cesares, 22. Dior H. Ova, 24. Keisha D. Hardy, 22. Aja Raquel Roan Spears, 34. Key Sam, 24. Adrian Burnett, 37. Mia Green, 29. Michelle Ramos Vargas, 33. Felicia Harris, 33. Brooklyn Deshauna, 22. Sarah Blackwood, 29. Angel Unique, 25.
So that is always a hard piece to accept when actually seeing all the people. It's difficult. And sadly, as it's far too common for events such as these to happen, there are still more names to add to the list. And that is what we're going to do now. There was also Scotland DeVore, age 51.
There's Leah Rashawn Day, age 28.
Ellie J. O'Regan, age 20.
Uni Carrie Herrera, age 39.
There were also 4 people that were not included in last year's list, like Nikki Kuhnhausen, age 18.
Yahira Nesby, age 33.
Maya Penny, age 26.
Laylene Kubaletti Polanco, age 27.
We would like to now take a moment of silence for those of our brothers, sisters, siblings.
I know this is a difficult time, but I want us all to remember our brothers and sisters that we have lost this year. And we don't want to keep adding to the list anymore. We want us to be safe, and we want to be protected. To protect each of us, protect yourself, stay safe. And I just want to remind all of you of the mental health supports that we have available in our community today. The Transgender Center of the Rockies. We have our lovely Erin online in the chat. Thank you for being here. There's also the Colorado Crisis Line. So if folks need to access someone and they can't get a hold of Erin, or they want to talk to someone, you can reach them as well.
It is difficult to move on from that, and we're going to. The next speaker I would like to introduce is Julia Condolora. She's wonderful. I know her personally, and I'm excited to see what she has to say.
That was so sad. I hate the reading of the names. I hate it. I hate that we have to do this every year. I hate to see the pictures of all those beautiful people knowing that their lives were cut short just for being their true selves. It's awful. And as awful as this is, it's just the US. I want to take a moment to talk about the rest of the world. Every November, the Transrespect versus Transphobia Worldwide Research Project publishes data gathered through the Trans Murder Monitoring Project. The 2020 report reveals that 350 transgender and gender diverse people were murdered between October 1st, 2019 and September 30th, 2020. This represents a 6% increase from the 2019 report. The majority of these murders occurred in Brazil, with 152 people, followed by Mexico with 57, and then the US and Puerto Rico with 35. The data shows an alarming trend of a gradual increase in murders from the 2008 to 2020. But we know these numbers are not complete. Not all the countries even collect this data. And of the countries that do, many of the murders are not reported due to misgendering by the families, the media, and the authorities. This makes it impossible to estimate the number of unreported cases. We can be sure the number of murders is much higher than what's reported. These are not just statistics, though. These numbers represent real people. People with value, people who are loved, people who did not deserve to die. 98% of those killed globally were trans women, are trans feminine people. In the US, 80% of the murders were trans women of color. Society and our community has failed to protect these women. We need to do more to protect our Black trans sisters. They are taking the brunt of the hatred. Black trans lives matter. I want to someday get to the point where the reading of the names is a thing of the past, something we used to do. It's going to take some work, but I'm sure we can get there. First, we need to change the trend, where we will be reading less names every year instead of more, till eventually there are no more names to read. And wouldn't that be lovely for there to be no more names to read?
Yes, it's very sad that we still have to have this entire event, you know? I really wish that it was not necessary anymore. Another thing that I wanted to mention is the Trans Lifeline. The Trans Lifeline is there. It was mentioned in chat. So thank you for bringing up the Trans Lifeline again. It's an important resource.
Yeah, thanks, Grant, for sharing that.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just gonna say too, with you know, with TDOR, it's not only a day to recognize those that we have lost to violence, it's also time for us to really commemorate the passing of our community leaders. And I want us to take a moment just to remember a very important trans advocate in our community, Monica Roberts. She died at the age of 58 from natural causes on October 6th. She was a journalist. She was a founding editor of Trans Riot and a trans activist. It was because of Roberts' coverage of transgender homicide victims in the US that it is so credited for bringing national attention to the issue. So thank you again, Monica, and we're sorry for your passing. And thank you for allowing us to see the importance of our people and why it's so important that we continue to advocate for us and we continue to express the number of people that die year to year. And we hope to change that. And one day, it'd be not anyone that's dying anymore.
Next up, I would like to introduce Phoenix, Colorado's Transgender Community Choir. Transgender Community Choir.
We are the ones you've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. We are the change. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. We are the change. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. We are the change. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are dawning. We are the rising sun. We are the change. We are the ones we've been
Another
Oh, that was
beautiful
so beautiful.
performance. That was wonderful. And I think that we have, I love choirs, especially that this particular choir is all folks with a trans experience, you know, because it's building community in so many ways.
Yeah, I love when they were singing like "We Are the Rising Sun" and like we're the change, right? Because we are the change. I think all of us here, you know, being able to be authentic and express ourselves, that's change. You know, it's unprecedented and it's only going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. Wow. And it's stuff like that warms my cold heart. I appreciate things like that, you know. So I did see a few questions in the chat about finding support, like after folks have had bottom surgery. And I encourage you to reach out to Transgender Center of the Rockies. There are several groups in Transgender Center of the Rockies, and I believe that they'll be able to, at minimum, point you in the right direction, if not be able to help you directly. Let's see. Yes, Aaron mentioned that. Thank you, Aaron, for mentioning that in our comments. Yeah, and so I also see things about not having a lot of support locally. And I think that a few of our services through the TCR, Transgender Center of the Rockies, have moved on to Zoom. So there's a way to potentially meet some new people and also get a lot of that support. So I'll continue to read some comments as we go to our next video. We have a video, we actually have 3 videos from One Colorado with Marvin Allen. We also have Just Living to use there, and from the Dolores Project.
Good evening. My name is Marvin Allen, and my pronouns are they, them, and he, him. I'm the Health Equity and Trading Director with One Colorado and a proud transgender person. Today, we remember all of our trans and non-binary sisters, brothers, and siblings who we've lost due to anti-transgender violence. Today is International Transgender Day of Remembrance in a year unlike any other year. This has been an exceptionally deadly year for trans and non-binary Americans, with a list of 36 known names collected by the Human Rights Campaign. These 36 names include Jane Thompson, a 33-year-old white transgender woman who was killed on May 9th in Mesa County, Colorado. One Colorado advocates on behalf of transgender and non-binary Coloradans, and in the past 2 years, Colorado has passed some amazing landmark pieces of legislation to support our lives. In 2019, we passed a ban on conversion therapy for minors, and of course, Jude's Law. In 2020, we increased access to HIV prevention medication and banned the gay and trans panic defense in Colorado courts. We will continue to fight for equity and safety for transgender and non-binary Coloradans. And today we pause to remember and memorialize the trans and non-binary lives we've lost this year. For all the names we know, all the names we do not know, and all the lives we've lost this year to suicide, we honor you. Rest in power.
Hello, Center on Colfax. trans community of Denver and Colorado. I am Ruth Reinhardt, Reverend Ruth Reinhardt, the founder and director of Just Living. It's a mixed gender, queer-friendly, sober living in Lakewood, Colorado. And we stand with you. Our hearts break when any trans person is hurt or killed by anti-transgender violence. It's gender policing, it's misogyny and transphobia at its worst. It's horrible, and our hearts break when it happens. It shouldn't ever happen. We affirm you, your inherent worth and dignity, your right, your fierce and powerful right to live your life without the barriers that are put before you. So we are allies to you. And this is Cubby, one of our residents.
Hi. Trans rights is love. We are valid. In the face of hatred, we are not intimidated. We welcome all with love and courage. And we love you and support you.
Thank you. And thank you, each one of you, living your life amidst tremendous odds. I will say, this world of the gender binary and gender policing, which is outrageous. So we do love you, and we affirm you, and we are with you on this day of remembrance. Take good care, be who you are, live your life, get in touch, we'd love to see you. Take good care. Blessings.
Transgender Day of Remembrance is an annual event where we memorialize the lives of transgender individuals lost to us each year to senseless violence and hatred.
Today, we honor the lives that have been lost to the ongoing violence against trans people. We also recognize the resilience of members in our community who continue to face transphobic hate and prejudice.
Dolores Project ofrece refugio de emergencia y estancia prolongada para mujeres y personas transgéneros. También es muy importante que la comunidad sepa que ofrecemos nuestros servicios en español y aquí estamos para atenderlos en su idioma.
At the Dolores Project, we are committed to providing safe and dignified shelter and services to transgender individuals as well as unaccompanied women who find themselves experiencing homelessness.
Transgender Day of Remembrance is an opportunity to raise awareness, education, and visibility to the epidemic of violence and injustice, and to continue to fight for a world in which all persons can live authentically, without fear, and with profound dignity.
This year on Transgender Day of Remembrance, I hope you'll stand with us and encourage others in the community to treat our transgender friends and neighbors with the dignity and respect that they deserve.
So that's some great resources there as well. And something I want to mention from the chat. First off, someone repeated the term transcestors from one of the poems, and I love that. Transcestors, especially because it builds on our community so well, you know?
Yeah, and I just want to take a moment to thank One Colorado too, for advocating for us, through policy and laws. Like Jude's Law is so important. Folks are now able to change their gender marker on their birth certificate and even just on their driver's license, which is amazing. So if you haven't, I encourage you to do so and, get it updated, make sure that you're represented and, Just Living, and then La Projecta de Dolores, gracias for everything. And thank you all for advocating for our Spanish speaking folks, undocumented folks. Thank you for advocating for, our trans and non-binary folks to exist and thrive in our communities because we deserve it. And, as mentioned, above and so so much is we deserve to be living and healthy, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Also, another comment was about support, other methods of support online, specifically through a program called Discord. So Discord groups, it's a big gamer platform. Usually it's how people talk while they're playing games together, but it has a lot more to it than that. And so there's a way to find other people in your own community and find like-minded people there. So I highly suggest checking out Discord groups. Also, Erin mentioned in our chat that Denver Health has a suite of services, including medical and behavioral health. So if you are having, or if you do want to find more services for yourself, Denver Health is a great resource for you. So we are coming to the end of our program this evening. And so Rory and I wanted to have just a little chat about some of the stuff that we've gotten and taken away from this evening. So Rory, what are some of the things that you really loved from the videos that we watched?
I think really just the authenticity, right, from folks, and just being able to share their experiences and their stories. I love that. I love the passion that folks had and really articulating the challenges that they face in their lives. Because oftentimes folks just don't understand, that aren't us, that aren't trans and non-binary. And, trying to articulate who we are and why we exist and why we matter is so crucial. And I saw that through the plethora of videos, the talent that existed through the poems, the choir, just the rapping too. It's just, we have so much diversity and talent. I'm amazed. And, I think people need to see it and they need to hear it. And so that's, those are the takeaways that I have for the videos.
Absolutely. Yeah, the diversity of talent and just the different kinds of things people submitted, from just talking to singing to rapping to like everything. And I really appreciate that, especially because those are some of the things that I'm not necessarily good at. So I can appreciate it all the more because I don't have that capacity myself. And that just goes to show you how much more diverse our community is when we can see something and love it, when we, or especially when we don't have those pieces ourselves. And how are you feeling right now, Rory?
This has been a tough day, right? I was reflecting earlier today, even before this event, just about those that we've lost. And it's hard because, I was thinking this could be me, this could be you, this could be everyone that's on this, on this event right now on Twitch. It's, it's so surreal. And I think right now, though, I'm excited, I'm passionate, and I'm eager to keep creating change and let people know that I exist and keep being at certain tables that, my people aren't known to be at, because it's so important. So that's, that's how I'm feeling right now.
Absolutely. I'm feeling somber and also hopeful right now. After all, hope keeps people afloat, especially in really troubling times. And with everything that has happened this year and in a few years previous, let's say, it has been difficult to hang on to hope. And now is a time where, despite all the bad things that have happened, it's most important now to maintain that hope and potentially grow that hope. So what is one thing that you are hopeful for in the next year?
Yeah, not to get so political, but, to be honest, just these last 4 years have been so tough with me underneath the Trump administration. And I think just for our people, right? I think we've lost access to healthcare, and just so many different things. And I think for this next year with Biden and Harris in, I'm hoping they pass the Equality Act. I'm praying that they do within the first 100 days because we need it. We need our people protected. And it's so crucial that once we have something in law that protects us, throughout the nation, there's not going to be any more discrimination. And so, at least lawfully. So I'm hoping for that.
Yeah. I have a very long-term hope of having the majority of people being accepting. Another thing that I wanted to bring up as kind of a closing note from me, and then I want you to close everything out, Rory, is mourning the loss of people who we thought were advocates and were sorely mistaken about those people. I have been a huge fan of Harry Potter since I was 13 years old because it's such a magical world. It's a place where people, it's a very different place. It's somewhere where your imagination can run free. And it gave me a special understanding of the world and communities and acceptance, and that in a lot of ways, magic really does exist because of the communities that can support each other, because the fandom of Harry Potter is amazing. Within the last year, a lot of problematic things have been coming up with J.K. Rowling, things that I'm sure she's felt deeply for a long time and that have been shattering for a lot of our community. And that has been very hard to deal with. She's been spreading a lot of vile sentiment about the trans community in such a huge way, such a public way, and it's actually been affecting a lot of people's lives hugely, not only within the fandom, but also across the UK. And so I've been struggling with that dynamic of, this is a story that I grew up with and I loved. And I can't even say loved without second guessing it, because I still love it. And it still means so much to me. It taught me a lot about acceptance in a lot of ways. And I think it taught a lot of other people about acceptance. So I want to leave everybody with this idea of, just because somebody has soiled something does not mean that that something means any less to you. It's okay to not support the person and still support the community that you've built off of what that person maybe created. But as soon as they let it out into the world, it's no longer theirs. It's ours now. So one of my friends drew something. She's an artist, and she drew a sticker that says, "All aboard the Hogwarts Express," and emphasis in all, and it was in trans flag colors, because it's so important. And also it was Lady Hagrid, which was fabulous. And so I think it's important to still love the things that you love. Don't let somebody full of hate dictate how you love and what you love. You can still love what they've made and hate them. Or actually, I don't want to advocate hate. I don't want to end on that note. Just, you can still love whatever you want to love. Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing, Grant. Yeah. Also inspiring. Yeah, because it's, we all face that, it's like we all deal with folks that we, oftentimes even family too, it could be hard. They're not always the best and the most supportive. And we have to love them, and we still have to teach them who we are, and sometimes that's tough. So yeah, that resonated with me. And I want to end a quote with you all too from Marsha P. Johnson, and I have Marsha P. Johnson and then also Sylvia Rivera, just because we have to pay homage to them, right? They've helped pioneer this movement for all of us to exist. And so that's why I have a quote from Marcia. And she said, history isn't something you look back at and say was inevitable. It happens because people make decisions that are sometimes very impulsive and of the moment. But these moments are cumulative realities. And so with that, I just want to say that we have to protect our trans women of color because they're so important. And it's just specifically our Black trans women. We have to prevent them from dying anymore. And we need to be advocates for each other to survive. So I just thank you all for being here and sharing this space with all of us, and for, commemorating all those that have passed, really, and, just moving towards this next year, 2021, in a new direction where we continue to fight for us, because we do matter. And I just wanted to remind you all to the mental health supports that are available. Erin is, in the chat. And then also don't be afraid, if you need to contact the Colorado Crisis Line, because they are a 24-hour resource available.
Absolutely. And also, if you want to learn more about any of the services for mental health, gender affirming care, etc., you can find all of that. I think it's in the description, although I'm not exactly sure. So you can go to Transgender Center of the Rockies.org. And you can also go to translifeline.org. And there's a lot of resources here for you and for those you know. So, so don't hesitate to reach out, especially if you are, or anybody you know, is facing something very difficult and they're in crisis right now. Definitely connect with the Trans Lifeline. If you would like to look into longer behavioral health care, counseling, etc., I think that going to Transgender Center of the Rockies for that is a great resource. Also, I want to again thank Sable for making all of this happen. Sable from the center. She's done an amazing job putting everything together here, gathering things as, and taking care of stuff as it has come up for this entire process, because we're used to being able to do this in person, and that was an absolute impossibility this year. And if you would like to be a part of next year's plans for this, you can find Sable. I think we can put her contact information in the chat so that you can find that. Sable is amazing. And really, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for celebrating lives with us.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And thank you too to our sponsors, as you mentioned, above, and Topher, Skye, everyone for making this happen. Just, thank you. You all are a blessing, and I'm thankful to be here with all of you.
All right. And that is where we will end this evening. Thank you again for coming, and we'll see you next year. Hopefully you'll be a part of this all as well.
Yeah, thank you all.